This video is part of a full podcast, link in the description for the full podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. Enjoy the video.
We'll start off with Kai Havertz. Now, obviously, Havertz is going to be has made the move across London from Chelsea to Arsenal for around 65 million, I want to say. Expensive deal for somebody who hasn't been that good, I'm going to be honest. I was kind of expecting him to move this summer for like 30, because I don't see a player in Havertz. I don't think he's that good at all. I've heard differing things from different people saying, Havertz is going to be played as a 9, Havertz is going to be played as a 10, he's going to be played out on the wing, he's going to be played as an 8. I've heard someone say. What's going on with Kai Havertz?
Well, yes, I think everyone expects him to go for a lower fee than that, no matter where he went. But I suppose Mikel Arteta has gained a bit of a reputation at Arsenal as the kind of I can fix you manager with the players he signs. Odegaard, Zinchenko, even Jesus. Quite a few players. I mean, obviously Granit Xhaka, players that have been at Arsenal and have really just changed their reputation, changed how people see them because they've just improved drastically. And I think Arteta, he's really bought the fans in, and we should. He's bought the faith that he deserves that now. At this point, he deserves the faith that the fans have in him to make a signing like this. And most Arsenal fans think, well, I think he'll be a success because Arteta clearly has a plan for him. What I'd say about, I think the talk about his versatility is overdone, as many Chelsea fans will probably tell you that he can't really play right wing. As in when he has played there, he's looked a bit average.
Yeah.
And I would say that I can only see him playing in that left 8 role for Arsenal.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be it's not going to be the same as the way Granit Xhaka played it, of course.
No.
I think it actually has, Havertz's signing in a lot of ways kind of relied on the Declan Rice signing because of how assured he is defensively. And of course Havertz isn't going to bring you the same defensive qualities as Granit Xhaka did. But obviously that's not what he's brought in for, I think.
No.
You look at the way that Man City have set up their midfield for the last 5 years or so since Pep's been in there, they've had David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, or Gundogan and De Bruyne, and, Phil Foden playing in midfield. And there's not, it's Rodri or Fernandinho have been left to do most of the work themselves. And no one ever questions it, even though if you saw any other team do that, you'd think this is outrageous, defensively just completely went out the door. But I think it's just a part of the evolution of Arteta's midfield, so and what I'd say as well is that Kai Havertz has not really played his proper position at Chelsea at all, almost.
No.
He's had a very difficult time since he got there. He said himself that he's had a real difficult time adapting to London without his family. Of course, COVID happened in his first season, and in that time he was getting coached by Frank Lampard, so I can't imagine that would have been easy as well.
No.
He did thrive a lot more under Thomas Tuchel, but even then he was never playing in his natural role. He played as a false 9, and that's where he's played for most of his career at Chelsea, because Chelsea have just been an absolute mess in the last few seasons, and they've not signed a proper number 9. And
they tried.
They have done. Yeah, they got Lukaku in, and 2 months later he said he wanted to leave, so that wasn't exactly
great signing.
Was it? So, yeah, brilliant signing. Fuck. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was terrible. That just slipped out there.
It's fine. I've long got rid of that rule because it's too much effort.
No, fair enough. And yeah, I'm honestly quite excited about the signing because there's very little expectation on him almost, because everyone just seems to think, well, this is a disaster of a signing. What is Arteta doing? But I think Arteta has really built that relationship with the fans where we can really be excited about anyone that comes in. We could probably sign bloody, Harry Winks or something, someone awful like that, and we'd still be excited. So, sorry, just for that slide deck.
Harry Winks is an excellent player, don't know what you're
about. No. I think, Arteta has the goodwill of the fans that we can be excited about almost anyone coming through the door. And there's no doubt that Havertz has plenty of qualities that I think can actually improve that midfield role and increase that goal tally to 95 100 goals instead of 88. I think we finished on 88 goals at the end of last season, and Arteta's always said you need to score 95 to 100 goals to win the league.
I'll agree with that.
And Havertz, we don't have much of an aerial presence, and he scored 30% of his goals at Chelsea with headers.
Fairly tall as well. People forget. Yeah,
very tall, 6'3".
6'3", yeah.
Yeah, he's a tall lad, and you see, most of his goals are headers when you see at Chelsea. He's a very good hitter of the ball. It's something we don't have, and his late runs into the box are very similar to the run that Granit Xhaka was making last season. I suppose we're really trying to see the evolved version of a Bayer Leverkusen Havertz than we are instead of a Chelsea Havertz, because he's not really been the same player at Chelsea, and he's never really been given the chance to. So.
No, and I'd argue that's who you're signing. I would argue based off his, you're not signing him based off Chelsea. You're signing a Bayer Leverkusen Havertz who's taken a couple of years to do whatever. It's not the Chelsea Havertz you're signing. We've done this with players in the past. We did it with Yannick Vestergaard. Signed him because of his time before Southampton, and look how that turned out. Cheers, recruitment team. But with Havertz, it's one of them. I think he will do okay. Do you think he'll do well enough to justify the price tag, though?
I mean, justifying the price tag doesn't really matter if you're winning titles. That's what I'd say.
No, doesn't matter. Or
if you're winning things, you know what I mean? Like, no one talked about Virgil van Dijk's price when he won the league with Anfield and Liverpool, and no one talked about. To be fair, very little people talked about Kai Havertz's fee at Chelsea when he won the Champions League final for them. So he comes up in clutch moments, and at the end of the day, this is just kind of the price you pay for talented players these days. You're not. It's very rare that you'll sign someone for 20 million and get a really good player. As much as he's not been the guy for Chelsea and the Bayer Leverkusen player that he was at Chelsea, he's still got Premier League experience, and he still scored, I think his lowest Premier League tally was 7 Premier League goals. And if you can adapt that to midfield, that would be absolutely fine. You know what I mean? Granit Xhaka scored 7 last season, but I think Havertz is capable of more than that, of course. I think, of course, 65 million, when you hear that at first, especially when you think of all the negatives that you could talk about with Kai Havertz, you think, well, this is just nuts. But then, at this point, like, genuinely, if you're in my mind right now, you can my state of mind, I'm not even really thinking about 65 million and getting worried about it, because I'm just thinking about the player, and I have a lot of faith in Arteta that he's got this right.
Fair enough, and we'll move on to a midfield partner for Kai Havertz, Declan Rice. Now, how many Rice jokes am I going to use? Not too many, hopefully. But again, this is another player you could say you're overpaying for. 105 million. It's more than what people expected Rice to go for. People were probably talking. Well, West Ham fans were saying 100 plus, but pundits and people like that, were saying he's an 80 million pound player. West Ham did hold out for that 100 million, which was definitely helped by the fact that they won the Conference League. If they wouldn't have won the Conference League, you possibly could have got him for 70, 80, because they wouldn't have had, Europa League football next season. Obviously, Declan Rice isn't yet official, but he is as close as you can be to official, and it wouldn't surprise me if we wake up tomorrow morning and he's holding an Arsenal shirt. Give me your overview on Declan Rice.
What I'd say, I think he's an outstanding player, and you saw his leadership skills on the way to that Europa Conference final, and also the way that they pushed out of relegation at the end of the season. You saw him really stand out. What I would say about the price tag is that, yes, he's probably, on paper, 70, 80 million pound player, but I'd say that's the same about Jude Bellingham. I'd say that's the same about, like you see some of the crazy signings. Jack Grealish probably wasn't a 100 million pound player.
Look at
but the reality is,
look at Paulinho. Fulham have quoted, 90 million for him.
Yeah, that's nuts. And that's the thing. I think what's more important is the value of that player to the player that want to sign him and the player they're selling. Sorry, the club that is selling, not the player that is selling. You know what I mean? Like for West Ham, 80 million for Declan Rice isn't that much in terms of it's you know, you're not really going to be able to replace him that well with 80 million pounds. Whereas if you get 100 million pounds or 105 million pounds, whatever way you want to put it, you can go inside two players about 50 million pounds and then really try and replace what he brings to the midfield.
Yeah, of course.
And I think for us, that is fine. You know what I mean? If we were paying 120 million, I'd say this is silly. We shouldn't have paid that much. But 105 million, he is of that value for us because, I mean, it was made clear in January that he was our priority target for the summer, and we've been talking to him ever since. It's clear how much we wanted him. We really put in that work behind the scenes so that when City came in, Declan Rice pretty much told them that he really only wants Arsenal, which is pretty nuts to say to come back and say that to the treble winners, you know. It says a lot about the groundwork that we put in and how much we did to try and convince him of the project that we're building. And yeah, I think he is. Yes, 105 million is crazy. It's a big fee. I think it's the biggest ever fee for a British player. Maybe Jude Bellingham might be more.
It's an add-ons thing, from what I've heard. It depends on what add-ons Jude beats and what add-ons. I presume there's add-ons in the Declan Rice deal as well. Right. What add-ons Declan Rice meets. It depends, but he will be one of the most expensive. And you know, if you're losing out to Jude Bellingham, there's not much harm in that because Jude Bellingham is such an excellent player. Do you think he'll be a success? I presume. Obviously, I don't think I haven't heard any Arsenal fans saying Declan Rice will fail at Arsenal. I don't think you sign somebody like this to with people having any concerns on it. Yes, it might be a little bit too much, but nobody's going, he's going to absolutely flop. However, how much of a success do you think he'll be? Do you think he'll go down in the levels of Vieira? Or, how successful do you think he will be?
I think isn't a really interesting point to, what is success, right? Obviously, when you pay such a fee for a player, it's very hard for a player to really justify that price tag, as you can see with all the, if you look at the top 10 transfers of all time, a lot of them have been what you'd consider flops. Even if they've not been terrible for their team, they might have been actually quite good, but to justify a price tag like that is very difficult. But having said that, out of all those players that I've seen on that list, I think Declan Rice is someone that could really prove that he is worth it for Arsenal. Because what you're getting is, you're not just getting Declan Rice the player, you're getting Declan Rice the personality. And we're obviously losing, I know that sounds silly, personality for 105 million.
No, but I know what you mean.
But we're very likely to lose Granit Xhaka this summer, although there are some reports coming out the last day or so that we might keep him because we're not getting him for the value that we'd like. But if we do indeed lose Xhaka, obviously he's a great player, but we're losing a huge personality in the dressing room, and a lot of people would have said that Granit Xhaka was kind of like the captain without the armband last season. As much as Odegaard's been a great leader, he's not like the one that's going to scream at you in the dressing room, But
No, and you do need that.
Declan Rice has proven to be a brilliant leader for West Ham. He was essentially the captain of West Ham for the last few seasons, but because of how little Mark Noble played. But he's a brilliant leader. He's 24 years old, so you're probably getting him for at least 6 or 7 years. Assuming that we can get another contract with him. This is assuming that he definitely does join. But of course he's going to join. But you know what I mean. You're getting him for maybe 7-8 years at least. That's until he's about 31 or 32, and you could even go beyond that. And when an English player joins from a slightly smaller club in the Premier League to one of the top teams, it's very rare they end up moving on, unless, for example, like Chelsea, you finish 12th and then Mason Mount ends up leaving.
Or Real Madrid come in. If Real Madrid come in it. To be fair, I guess Rice doesn't seem the kind of guy that would care that much about Real Madrid. He doesn't scream to me a Real Madrid player. If Bayern come in at the age of 28, he might fancy it.
Yeah, you never know. But of course, my point is that if he is 28, you'd be getting great value for him at that point, probably. I imagine if Bayern and Real Madrid were still interested in him. I do expect him to be a very good signing. It's really hard to predict what Arsenal are going to do in the next few years. I think we're a really good young team, so saying whether he's going to be like a Vieira or, like a real Premier League legend, to be honest, I think he will. But, of course, to predict that at this point, when we've not actually seen him put on an Arsenal shirt yet,
It's mental.
is pretty difficult. But yeah, I do expect him to have a real legacy once he leaves here.
You like him then? You're happy? Two signings for two so far successes.
For sure.
For sure, that's good news. I mean, a midfield of what? Odegaard, Havertz and Rice next season. Do you think it's good enough to win the league?
What I'd honestly be more concerned about is probably depth. Mainly because, of course, we're losing Xhaka. I mean, it looks very likely. And we are kind of relying very heavily on Emil Smith-Rowe and Fabio Vieira to up their game next season. Unless we go and sign someone else. I think there's a good chance that if Partey leaves, because we've got Declan Rice and Jorginho, we might see sort of a hybrid 6-8 come in, maybe Romeo Lavia has been linked. Of course, Caicedo has been linked, but I think he's just reached a ridiculous a price that we just can't afford. Maybe a Romeo Lavia or someone else that can kind of play both roles.
Gravenberch, depending on how much you'd be quoted for him, if that's 40, 50 odd, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
someone who can do both.
Yeah, for sure. I think I do quite like the Havertz, Odegaard, Rice. I think it's a good midfield, but it's going to be really interesting because there is a big adaptation that's going to happen with this midfield because Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey were mainstays in the team last season, and there's a good chance that both of them aren't going to be here next season, which seems pretty ludicrous if you told us that 6 months ago. But yeah, no, it's quite hard to predict because as I said, it's going to be a very different midfield. The way we set up is going to be different. The player profile will be very different.
Of course.
Smith-Rowe and Havertz playing in that left-8 role, I think, very different player to Granit Xhaka. So, hard to say about winning the league in that. But I think, once again, we've got to have that faith in Arteta because, he's done some pretty wonderful things to this team so far.
Okay. I think I'll push for an answer because I've realised this will make a really, really good Instagram reel. So, one word answer. Do you think a midfield of Havertz, who are the other two? Rice and Odegaard. Right, we're going to go again.
Start again if you're going to make an Instagram reel for
this is staying in the podcast as well.
No, I like it.
They can listen to the behind the scenes of me doing an Instagram reel. The amount of times I sit there and go, what? Nope, I'm not happy with that. Nope, go again. Nope, hand movement was wrong. Let's go. Mate, there's 20 odd takes, one of them. You should appreciate the special Instagram reel, guys. Right. Right. One word answer. You spoke, we're going again. Here's the beyond. This is Daniel Talks Football behind the scenes, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for quality content. One word answer. Will a midfield of Havertz, Odegaard and Declan Rice be enough to win Arsenal the Premier League title?
Yes, it will.
Hey.
Hold on, that wasn't really one word. Yes.
It's fine.
There we go.
Because then, then we could have people in the comments going, this isn't one word. Soak it in, drink in the comments.
Oh, I can't wait to see. We're going to change the Kai Havertz song from Chelsea to "He won Arsenal the Premier League." It's not going to be Champions League anymore, Okay. So it's going to happen.
Fun. It's fun. We change songs now to winning the championship, so it's fine. Although I'm really excited to go to Preston North End next season and sing to their fans that Jamie Vardy's won more than they have and ever will win in their history. So it's one of them, isn't it? And then last but not least, it's a man who's going down, and it's a man who's yelling timber. Yoey and Timber.
Very good. Very good.
I didn't make one Declan Rice joke, alright? So I had to.
Fair enough. You had to give that.
I had to get at least one in there. Yoey and Timber, joining from Ajax. Or, yeah, it's pretty much done, isn't it, at this point? We'll talk as if it is, because it looks like it's going to be done. When Arsenal want a player as well, they usually get him. Well, bar certain Ukrainian wingers. Who they really enjoy flirting with, but no official bids or any use. Jurrien Timber. Thoughts on this one? Because I'm going to be honest, where does he fit?
Well, I mean, all you have to do is look at the absolute implosion we had last season to see where he fit. Because
is he a backup then?
Well, I have a lot to say about the term backup.
Okay. Here we go.
Genuinely, like it's a very common term, obviously in football, but I think it's an innate term at this level. At the top six, you need to have rotation options. I prefer the term rotation.
He's a rotation
absolutely,
player.
because I mean, I wouldn't even say he's a rotation player. You know, you sign players these days. You got to sign players that you think can take over players in your first team, and then that's how you get competition.
Okay.
A lot of people that have watched him a lot more than I have would say that Jurrien Timber would start over Ben White. I would say Ben White. I've not seen much of Jurrien Timber. He looks very good on these compilations, but so can anyone.
Yes.
But yeah, I'd say Ben White's been brilliant this season. So I think that's exactly what you need for competition. And you know, he can play centre back and right back to a very high level. William Saliba and Tomiyasu were the two players that came out with injuries at the worst time of the season, and he can cover both of those roles. And a lot of people will point to the fact that our defence wasn't too sharp when William Saliba was in the team in the second half of the season, which I think is a valid point. But that is people forgetting how good William Saliba is actually on the ball, especially in comparison to Rob Holding, who really, really struggled on the ball last season, especially with the levels raised in our back line in terms of playing out from the back. He just couldn't cope with it. And
no.
I see a lot of people judging him and getting angry at him. It's not really fair.
It's just not his kind of player.
It's not his fault. Yeah, it's not his fault that he isn't suited to this team anymore. And yeah, I'm really excited about the signing. And it's actually been quite funny because everyone's been so stressed about this Declan Rice transfer because of all the talk of Man City coming in, that people have almost forgotten that Kai Havertz was just announced a few days ago and Jurrien Timber's pretty much done too. So yeah, Arsenal are on a bit of a mad run, and Jurrien Timber looks like a top player, and I'm very excited.
For sure. I mean, it's a strange one. I think with Timber, he's gonna be a good player. Obviously, you know, he has been good for Ajax from the little bits of Ajax I've seen. He should be a very, very good player. In terms of that idea of him being I'm not going to say backup, a rotational option.
Well done.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Does he start on the first day of the season?
You know what? It's just going to come down to what we see in pre-season.
Okay.
I wouldn't be particularly surprised. Like, Arteta has been ruthless with this team, and players that you'd expect to just start every game last season. You know, Kieran Tierney, like, he was one of the most important players for us for the last few seasons, and then Zinchenko came in straight away. So it wouldn't be particularly surprised if he starts first day of the season.
And he can play at right back as well, from what I've heard. Obviously, there's the talk of that competition there with Ben White, who's kind of been a centre-back / been rotation with Tomiyasu for this season. Do you see Timber primarily coming in as a centre-back to then push Ben White out to the right? Or do you see Timber even possibly coming in to rotate with Timber as we discussed before, that part of the elbow who tucks into the back three before you let Zinchenko push up into the midfield?
I did remember. I forgot about the elbow.
You've missed the elbow, haven't you?
No, I love the elbow. But yeah, Jurrien Timber, I expect him to play more at right back based on this. You know, so last season we came in for Lisandro Martinez, right? Mostly played as a centre back at Ajax, but we wanted him to play as an inverted left back.
Okay.
And I think that is largely due to his height and his aerial winning abilities.
To be fair, if that
Timber's
could have
not tall either.
If that could have happened, you could have tucked him into the left-hand side of the elbow and you could have pushed the right-hand side up. So that would make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I see the same with Timber. Of course, he's a little bit taller than
Yeah.
Lissandro
hard.
Martinez, but his aerial win rate is like really poor for a defender, Timber, or for a centre back at least. So I imagine he'll play right back because a lot of his qualities as a centre back do fit to playing at right back as well, especially the way that we play our right backs, very inverted and I think I can see him playing there, and then maybe Ben White playing more of a centre back role next season.
More of a centre back role. Okay, that's an interesting one then. Ben White in at centre back. So then, I guess it's Ben White who possibly do. You've got some very good rotation options now in that defence. I still think. I mean, the right back and centre back slots you've kind of sorted now. You brought in that Kivior. Oh, always a V. Oh, he's posh. You brought in him as well. I don't know if he's any good. He was supposed to be. I heard he was like a bright talent, but also then I looked and he was like 23. I was like, bright talent, but he's I don't know if he is actually 23, but he didn't like make me think, oh, he's a bright talent. I don't know if he stays or gets a loan out or something, but either way, you've got some very good centre-back options there. Left-back, you're sorted. Goalkeeper, you are obviously sorted with that Ramsdale guy. Midfield, you're sorted. And it's the attack where you're not sorted. Now, Piers Morgan. A name you probably didn't expect.
There we go. There we go.
A name you probably didn't expect to hear come out of my mouth tonight. Piers Morgan said that Arsenal, we'll do this as a reel because Piers Morgan straight away gets people watching, doesn't it? Piers Morgan said that Arsenal should sign Osimhen as a new striker. He said he really liked the signing of Declan Rice, but he said they really needed to go out and get a big striker to challenge for the title. What do you think of that?
Okay, let's just get this straight. I want you to bleep this, but Piers Morgan is a top class. All right, he is an absolute. I despise him, right? I've got him blocked on Twitter, so I don't see any of this Victor Osimhen stuff.
Okay.
I think Victor Osimhen's a great player. But I think, listen, we've spent a lot of money this summer, and he'd cost upwards of 120 million. So it's just, we shouldn't expect Arsenal to be making a signing like that. It'd be brilliant if we did. But yeah, I think that might be the type of signing we wait for next summer.
Okay.
Because you can't spend that much money in one summer.
No.
Unless you're Chelsea, we're not like Stan Kroenke. We're just not that type of team.
No,
we're supposed to be. What's the term? So I'm thinking self-funded. Obviously, isn't the term. But
not
we're supposed to be. But essentially we're supposed to be using all the money that's coming straight from the club and not really using much from the owners.
No.
So to spend that much money on Osimhen would probably have to be a giant loan from KSE. So, maybe the season after this, we could expect a high-profile attacking signing, but not now. And Piers Morgan can go do one.
I've never had to bleep anything before. It's usually just been edited out. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there. I do want
to bleep it for the culture.
I know. I don't know how to bleep, so I'm going to have to do some research into that. I think.
But you could probably just mute that section.
No,
like
it's not. It's
section.
not. It's not as interesting. It's gonna find a way to stay in.
Nice.
It's gonna find a way to stay in. But yeah, there we go. Piers Morgan is a On that note, because I can't say that.
No, fair enough.
Who
would dare? Who would dare?
If I want to go into journalism, that is not something I can be saying. On that note, though, we will take a short break before we come back to do a keep, sell, loan on all of Arsenal's players.